Hey, dude, what's going on? Chris here. Want to bring you all an update today of Litecoin. What we're going to be doing is looking at Litecoin on the 4-hour chart. Right now we're at $42.14. And what I want to do is piggyback off the last video that I did for Litecoin, where we were talking about, is this Litecoin a breakout or is it going to be a fake out as we started to close and have candle closes up above this white trend line that we've been looking at for over 6 months. So we ended up getting out of this trend line, guys, but we didn't get out of it with a lot of conviction. It didn't come on a lot of volume. As you can see, the volume's getting really low down in this area here, and what we're going to have to see is if we're able to hold this trend line break or if things are going to get even more ugly and just start rolling back to the downside again. So if you get some from these videos, guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're going to dig into this, and remember, it's on the 4-hour time frame is what we're going to be looking at. And what I wanted to talk about was the change of trends. So if I zoom out back here, and remember, this all on the 4 hours as we were watching this pattern. This was from back in June. We've been having lower highs and lower lows coming in, and we are actually so weak here, guys. You see how far we dropped away from this trend line. You can see these big gaps here, another big gap right here, and that's just due to the weakness that we had as we were just getting slammed down and pushed down even harder. You started to see more of those gaps taking place or coming in. But what I wanted to point out is the trend change taking place on the 4-hour chart. So as we look at this, and what you see is that higher lows are starting to come in on the 4-hour chart. So as we were getting pushed down here, we were having our lower highs and lower lows. We got pushed all the way down to $35, and that's when the bulls stepped up and they stepped in on heavier volume, and we had a bullish engulfing candle. Ever since we had that, and it was on December 18th, 2019, we've been putting in higher lows. And what you can see here, this was our low. Here's our higher low where we broke out of that trend line. That was around $40. And now what we're trying to do is establish another higher low. And what's happening is we're almost having this squeezing effect to where we're having higher lows, and this uptrend, this yellow line, wants to continue. But what's happening now is we're running into this overhead resistance. And it's almost kind of like one of those ascending triangles to where your bottom's getting higher here, and then you almost have that flat top of resistance, because this area back in here, guys, we had from November 25th, we hit it here. We've had this whole mess over here, over here. There's just been a lot of chop back and forth here, and it was for about a month or 2 months in that range. And for me, that's going to be significant overhead resistance. So what Litecoin needs to do next is hold this yellow trend line. This is the one I'm really going to be paying a lot of attention to. We need to hold this, keep our higher lows intact like you see right now. And what needs to happen is we have to come up here and break through that $43.94, which is going to be overhead resistance for us, because as we were bringing in these higher lows, we were also having higher highs. Here's our first one. Here's our second higher high. Here's our third, and then here's our fourth. So what needs to happen next is that higher low on heavy volume, then a break up through that $43.94. So that's what I need to see us get up above, is $43.94. We need to close up above it, and we need to have this area act as support. So this previous higher high down here with the trend change, that needs to become support for us so that we can keep making these higher highs and higher lows. And that's the significance of this yellow trend line. If this is breached, what I would expect is a retest of this white downtrend line that we finally broke out of after all this time. And you can see when we broke out of it, though, it still wasn't on as much volume as you'd like to see. What we would want to see is sticks of volume coming in about that size, or even this bit of volume that we had here when we found a bottom at that $35 range. But what we've been doing is just slowly trying to grind up, slowly trying to grind up. And for me personally right now, I am not in a position, because what I wanted to see with this trend line break, is it a true trend line break where we're having a daily candle close at 5% up above this trend line on heavy volume with some other indicators playing a factor with it, or not. And right now we're still in that indecision time. We have not definitely broke out of here with conviction, with heavy volume. We need to see that take place. Otherwise we could really just start rolling over, guys, and we'd be starting to look at, you know, $39 as support. Then we'd looking down here about $36 as support. And remember, everything's based off Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going to find strong support around that $7,200 where it's at right now, then Litecoin most likely will find support where it's at, and we can continue to move to the upside. But if Bitcoin's going to dump, and it's going to be some nasty dump down to that 0.78 Fibonacci level around $5,500, then things could definitely get ugly for us. So that's why I'm not in a position right now. I'm really being cautious, really trying to protect myself, because, guys, when you see trend line breaks, you know, we've talked about this before, they can get really ugly. Just to give you an example here, this is just a rough trend line that I'll draw, but my eye caught it for you. Take a look at this. We are having higher lows just like we are now, so we have to start that in the short term. The trend has to change in the short term. See this here? lower highs and lower lows, and now we're trying to change that trend. But when we had that break, it also came on big volume, which was a sign, but we ended up going as low as we lost 30% from that move. So say we ended up going to the downside from here, 30% could roughly put us back down around that $28, $29 level, and that's why you want to protect yourself and be careful. In this market, guys, we've just been in wicked downtrends, and for me, I don't want to try to catch falling knives. I need even more confirmation. I need us to get up above $43.94. I need us to get up above, $50 and really start making moves and changing this trend, and more so even than the short term, but to try to get back into that intermediate term uptrend. Like here, this is just considered a short term uptrend that we're in, guys. We wanted to see a higher low here, then a higher high, and try to break out of this trend line, but it didn't happen there. Right here, another short-term uptrend, and that's what we don't want out of this. We don't want this just to become a short-term uptrend where we end up dumping to the downside after that. Now, in terms of looking at the RSI, I want to check this out quick for us on the 4-hour. We're at 50 right now, so just more running neutral there. We have plenty of room to the upside or the downside, depending on what Bitcoin's going to do, but this is the trend line I would want us to also pay attention to on the 4-hour for the RSI. Right there, we'd want to hold that, keep riding up here. You can almost see a little bit of a double top there, so that's something that you want to be aware of, guys. A lot of times when you see the double top or that push up there and you don't go higher than that, that's rejection, and a lot of times you'll start falling back down. See if we can find support off this area that we're at right now, which is going to be important. And then what I want to do is just very quickly step out to the 1 day and take a look at the candles and how they closed over top of this trend line break. So as we look at this here, you can see this was our trend line break. Came on not the most volume, though. I was hoping that the volume would increase. This next day was looking okay. Our price went from $40 all the way up to around $43, almost $44, but you're seeing some wicks up here. So there's some profit taking at this overhead resistance area, and that's why I said it's going to be so crucial for us to get out of that to the upside if we are going to continue this move to the upside. And then our 20 EMA in purple, right now you're seeing a very tight doji on top of that. So there's a big fight between the bulls and the bears taking place right now. Bulls need to close up above it and start challenging that 43.94. Then up here around that 40-day EMA, which is going to be around, we'll call it 44.50. Right in that range, guys. But we got a lot of overhead resistance still pressing down upon us. We're just going to have to see if we can finally get out of this downtrend and really start making moves to the upside, because this downtrend has just been wicked. As we take a look back and really pay attention to all this, you can see our downtrend has been as long now as we were in this uptrend from the beginning of 2019. Same deal on the backside. So this has really been strung out. And a lot of times when you look for the reversals, it's like a car when they put on the brakes. The brakes are put on, but you don't immediately stop at that area. You start slowing down, and that's what I'm hoping. And remember, guys, hope is nothing in this market, and that's why I don't have a position right now. But what I'm hoping for is that this is that slowing down period where we finally start changing the trend and we start making a move back to the upside where we're making higher highs and higher lows, just like in this other area there. So that's what I wanted to bring to you guys. If you get some from this, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Remember, don't FOMO. That's what my channel is all about. Don't FOMO. There's always going to be more opportunities. And right now, the cryptocurrency space has just been getting kicked around. So it's always better to stay in cash, be patient, wait for good confirmation before you start diving in, because things can always go much lower. So just always remember that. I appreciate you all being here with me today. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. God bless you all.